Hi, everyone. So as you can hear and see, I'm not Mike. So my name is Katrien for those of you who don't know me. I set up SRF Europe last year. I'm based in the Netherlands, and my son Bear, who is almost 7 years old, was diagnosed with SYNGAP1 in 2019. Um, so Mike asked me to do a SYNGAP 10 podcast, which I reluctantly agreed to, because last week I attended the International Epilepsy Conference in Dublin with Olga, who came in from the US. And just to sort of share my observations and sort of what the key messages were around that conference. So for those of you who don't know IEC, it is a huge conference that attracts, clinicians, researchers, pharma, basically everyone who sort of touches epilepsy. And they all come together and in 3-4 days, and there are a number of sessions on very, very specific topics, some which were really relevant to us and others like were less so. We had a charity table there, which was really, really great. So you're in this big hall with a number of other rare diseases or organizations, charities that are around rare disease, and you will have all of the pharma big stands in the middle. So we had a table with our SRF tablecloth over it. We were really visible. We had our medical documents. We had in Spanish and in English, which was really great. We had leaflets on SYNGAP1, and we had a little bit of swag like pens and stickers and that sort of thing. And the whole idea, and which was really effective, was for sort of clinicians that don't know SYNGAP1, but we found often clinicians who have just recently gotten a SYNGAP1 patient. Came by and said, I've just diagnosed my first patient, and who are you guys? So we told them about the charity and where they could get sort of more information. So these, sort of really from all over the world, in like Israel, South Africa, Eastern Europe. So a number of clinicians coming up to us saying, said we just recently diagnosed our first or our second patient. So it's a really great way to get in front of a global selection of clinicians and spread the word about SRF and all of the resources that are available on our website and through our patients. So that was really good. The other thing that Mike touched upon this on his last podcast as well is that there was one sort of message that Olga and I kept on hearing throughout the conference. So when we were attending sessions, which was comorbidities are not comorbidities. So effectively, sort of the seizures are not the only symptom. And that I think is especially true for us because our seizures are not life-threatening, and our other symptoms are actually, sort of impacting our life much, much more than the seizures. And so having sort of the top clinicians, researchers spread this word saying you need to spend more time on these other symptoms and not only focus on seizures when you have a patient with a rare disease. So when you have a patient with a DEE. And that was a fantastic message to sort of hear that it's getting disseminated and that people are thinking about and people are aware about. So that was really great. One of the top tips actually from that was a neurologist who said, sort of if you have a half an hour appointment, that is not a long time for a DEE. You need to give patients of rare diseases longer appointments. So if you're coming up to your first appointment or you have a follow-up appointment and you actually need to, discuss a whole list of symptoms, ask for time and a half. So that was a really, really great tip from a clinician there. So there were two important presentations on SYNGAP1. So the first was Dr. Escherman. She is a Austrian/German clinician and researcher, and she was presenting the findings of the PATRA study that they had done last year. So probably some of you actually might have taken this survey. effectively what it was, they surveyed 230 Singapians through a QR code, through an app. It was really, really easy. So you got this app and you had a short list of questions, and they were looking at what are the most important issues for parents and carers in terms of symptoms, and what type of medications have Singapians been on. So it was sort of what they're currently on and what they've been on in the past. And effectively produce this big list with positive and negatives on sleep, behavior, and epilepsy and cognition. I think they included in there too. I will add her slides to the show notes so you can all see them. So this was a really, really good study, and they're going to work this out further and try and split it out by phenotype and mutation and dosage. So I'm really hopeful that this will sort of bring us close to actually what Dravet has, which is they have this sort of first line of defense medications, which are well known throughout the industry. You have a patient with Dravet, you need to start with this and this and this. That doesn't work, you go to the second line of defense. For SYNGAP1, I'm hoping that, sort of if this is worked out further by phenotype or mutation, and we can get a significant link there, that we will also get this sort of first line of defense, so that when you're visiting your neurologist for the first time and you've been diagnosed with epilepsy, that they don't just give you whatever they think is best for treating generalized epilepsy, that they have this list of, actually for SYNGAP1, we should be trying, this and this and this first, because that is going to be positive for these other symptoms. So that was a good presentation, and it's always nice to see her. She's actually part of the EURES consortium, which is the European Union. They've given 8 million, so this is very recent, they've given 8 million euros for a group of researchers across Europe, so geographical Europe, to study SYNGAP1 and 3 other rare diseases. So hopefully that more information will come out of that, I'm sure. But yeah, so that was really exciting, and it was great to see her again. So the other presentation was by Dr. Ali, who's in Dr. Andrada's team in Toronto, and that was on the recent adult phenotype study that they did. So they were looking to see sort of if they could classify the adult phenotype. Obviously, sort of there are almost all of our studies on SYNGAP1 are on below 18 years old. And this was sort of a pure adult study. And she's recently gotten another grant from us, and she's going to work that out further, which would be the first sort of comprehensive adult study for SYNGAP1. So I'm really excited about that. If you have a Syngapian over the age of 18, please keep your ears and eyes open, because we're going to be recruiting for that soon. So she presented effectively sort of a number of phenotypes of adults, and Karen was in there as well. So she presented Karen's profile, and so Karen's a bit of a celebrity in our world, but for a room full of neurologists, they had never heard of a 65-year-old Syngapian. I mean, that was a sort of a big surprise to them. And then the message that she sort of had sent them, which I really, really liked, is you are not too old for a genetic test. And so I really, really hope that came through, and that, adult neurologists who are seeing patients with our SYNGAP phenotype, so if they present like SYNGAP, that they are still doing genetic tests on these patients and finding out sort of what is the cause of all of these symptoms. So thank you again to Dr. Ali, and I got to meet her, which was great, and Dr. Andrada as well for continuing to look at SYNGAP1. So the last thing I kind of wanted to leave you guys with was, there was this term that I heard a number of times at the conference, and it really, really got to me. We're 4 years after diagnosis. We're sort of pretty well adjusted. We have our sort of Bear goes to school. We have his therapies. We have sort of carers. We've got a good system in place. But every now and then, something will just come up and hit me, and I just think, I hate SYNGAP1. I hate that this happened to my child. I hate that this is my life. and this is my child's life. And I just get really mad and sad at the same time. And so this term that I kept hearing at the conference sort of triggered that for me, and it was the term was polypharma. So effectively just means when someone is on multiple medications. And so for DEEs like ours, the rare diseases, our kids are on anti-epilepsy medications, often two, because one isn't working enough. We have to take things for sleep. We have things for aggression. We have things for behavior. Bear's on 3, and we're close to getting to him on a 4th. And I hate that my child is on 4 heavy medications. I just hate it. And every time I heard that word, it made me really sad that my kid is dealing with this, and I as a parent don't know the effects of having him on these medications for 20 years long plus 40 years long. What's that going to do to him? What's that doing to his health? What's doing to other parts of his body, his gut? I don't know. So that was one of the things. I think the message is great. I was glad they were talking about it, think about, effectively all of the medications the kid is on, and think about all the symptoms and not just your seizure medication. The counter to that was the last presentation I attended was by Dr. Scott Perry, and he gave an update on the Stoke Therapeutics trial for Dravet. And what effectively sort of the word I kept hearing from that presentation was disease modifying treatment. So we're talking now about a treatment that is not attacking the symptoms. It is attacking the cause. So for the first time, we are able to treat the cause of the disease. And so Stoke is now in clinical stage 1-2 for Dravet, and SYNGAP1 is in their pipeline. And so I'm really, really excited that we are at a time that we are now discussing disease modifying treatment. So I don't have to deal with polypharma for too long, I hope. So that is my recap of the conference. I hope Mike will be back with you soon. And I'm really excited to see lots of you in Florida. I'm going to be there, and it would be great to connect again. Bye.